spot Bitcoin ETFs, right? I've talked about this. ARCs not expired, but it was delayed. The next deadline is November. We'll see if the SEC comes to their senses, but all the other ones from BlackRock and Van Eyck and Invesco, Fidelity, Valkyrie, their next deadline is actually in October. So there could be a chance that, let's say, BlackRock's gets them approved in October, then everything else will get approved, and then of course ARCs will be approved. But if they get denied, then the next deadline will be November. But eventually the SEC could only delay this for so long until January, which is, I believe, when a spot Bitcoin ETF will be approved. Bitcoin spot ETF is going to hit Amsterdam exchange. Okay, so this is the very first one going live after a year of planned launch. So those of you guys in Amsterdam will be able to buy the very first EU spot Bitcoin ETF. Now, of course, this is massive, but not nearly as massive as the ones that will be coming to the US. Okay, but it's a step in the right direction. We do have spot Bitcoin ETFs already existing in Canada, very low volume. I think we have some in other countries too. I don't know which ones. But, you know, we're going to get them in Europe. And pretty soon, we're going to get them in the U.S. And that's the major thing. And in case you guys are wondering, why is the U.S. spot Bitcoin ETF so important? Because that's where all the money is, okay? It was reported today that Michael J. Burry, he took a $1.6 billion short against S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100. Okay, now he didn't do it right away. I mean, he didn't do it like today. He actually did it at end of June. So it's been almost a couple of months. Okay. So obviously, Michael Burry, he's known for his short against the housing bubble and actually made him a lot of money. He's made a lot of bad calls. Sometimes on crypto too. Sometimes they're so bad that he would actually just remove his tweets and shut down his account altogether. So, I mean, it's been a while since he had a really good call. But again, this is supposedly 93% of his portfolio. So he's very confident about this move, right? There are a few analysts, financial gurus out there that does think that the U.S. economy is going to see worse days. I don't know. I just don't see it. I cover the news. I look at economic data with you guys every single day for such a long time. I've listened to all the FOMC meetings with Powell, right? Been studying and putting it all together, and it does not seem that bad. In fact, I think in 2024, we're actually going to see a really good year. You know, Joe Squawk was talking to the former SEC chairman, Jay Clayton, talking about bonds and Bitcoin. Right? Let's play this real quick, because I think that he says he's half joking, and Bitcoin. But honestly, it's not really a joke. It's actually legit financial advice, even though he would say it's not financial advice. Let's play this.
You know, from such a different generation. Should she be, she's got plenty of time, she's young. Should she be thinking about buying 4% bonds, or would you recommend she buy some Bitcoin, Jay? I mean, what would you tell Kelly Evans to do at this point?
What would I tell Kelly Evans? Diversify. That's what I would say. Diversify.
I'm kidding when I say don't buy a 2-year note, buy Bitcoin. Sort of kidding. I'm sort of kidding, but as you know.
Let's be clear.
Okay, so that's all I want to play. He's sort of kidding, but he's not. Really, I don't think he's kidding. Because Joe has been covering Bitcoin for quite some time. Actually, you know, for many times on his show, he would fight against all the bears, right? I think he gets it. I really do think he gets it. Obviously, there's a lot of talks about how the nation, the U.S., can go deeper into a recession, right? But with these hopeful economic data, it seems like that's not going to happen. But there are a couple of things that are definitely affecting Bitcoin and markets right now, okay? or crypto markets. Number one is the DXY, the dollar is climbing once again. Okay, there is definitely a correlation. Whenever the DXY goes up, Bitcoin and crypto tends to go down. Now, why is this happening? Is the US dollar getting stronger? Well, not necessarily. The US dollar is actually getting weaker. We know that, right? But other currencies that the US dollar is pegged against are getting much weaker. For example, the Japanese yen, it is going down big time. So, and that is a big measurement against the DXY. So the DXY is actually going up because other currencies are just getting even weaker, right? And traditionally speaking, I don't have a comparison chart, but whenever DXY goes up, Bitcoin crypto tends to go down. Right now, Bitcoin, in terms of trading volume, has dropped to its lowest level in history. Lowest level in history. Think about that. All the traders, all the leverage traders, and all these people that used to trade like crazy, where did they go? Kind of disappeared. It's kind of hard to imagine that right now is the lowest trading volume in Bitcoin's history, right? So people do equate low volume, low volatility with weakness. That's the problem. And there are a lot of short-term investors. I thought they all disappeared. I think we're all long-term investors now, right? I think last time I checked, it was over 75%. But unfortunately, there's still some short-term investors, and they are caving because they're equating the low volume, low trading as FUD. And that's not the way to do it. That's my warning. Right? Like if you are new to the space, most of you guys are not. You've been watching me for years, so you should know. But if you are new to the space, you jumped in maybe a little bit higher than now, right? You may be feeling the pressure like, oh boy, Bitcoin is falling, right? No one's trading, no one's buying. And there's a little weakness, right? So I get it. So there are people that are somewhat afraid. That's why short-term investors, actually a lot of them are starting to sell right now. If you add all that up, that's kind of like what's happening. But here's the thing, okay? This is why I'm going to give a warning. Throughout Bitcoin's history, this has always been the case, right? Even very, very short term. You could see that, yeah, after Bitcoin did this, what did it do? It trended down and then it went back up, right? So, I mean, even on a short-term scale, we see this often. But if you zoom out on a yearly scale, you definitely see it, right? So there are times when there's just weakness. There's just low volatility, or, there's not a whole lot going on, that there's just like, it seems like it's very stale and stagnant, right? According to Wall Street Journal, I don't know who their source is, okay? This came out today. This was an article about SpaceX, okay? Everyone loves SpaceX, right? Loves space exploration, loves what Elon is doing with SpaceX. It's awesome to look at those launches. But within here, it talks about, I don't know why, it was just plugged in. I mean, this whole article had nothing at all to do with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, right? It was everything else about finances, revenue and all that stuff. In the very, 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 very last paragraph of this article, it almost seems like this Micah and Corey and Burry purposely snuck this in here, or someone told them to. All of a sudden, they just wrote that somehow 373 million that was acquired by SpaceX, 373 million worth of Bitcoin acquired in 2022 and 2021 has been written down, which means that it has been sold off this year. Now, since SpaceX is not a publicly traded company, they don't have to disclose this. Now, Elon did say before that SpaceX owns some Bitcoin. Did they really hold close to 400 million Bitcoin? Maybe. But why would they disclose that, right? There's no proof of this. And again, this whole article was fine all the way up until the very last point. Like, this was just snuck in there because these writers or whoever told them to put that there knew what this was going to do, right, caused a whole lot of FUD. The thing is, a lot of you guys know, people are trying to verify this. No one has been able to. SpaceX has not actually come out and said, yes, this report is true. Elon has not come out and said this report is true. So no one really knows if this is true or not. CZ also chimed in on this. He's like, 4 years ago, okay? 4 years ago, back in 2019, when Bitcoin fell to $3,100, okay? Keep that in mind. So we're still way higher than that, okay? But when Bitcoin fell down to 3,100, then we had a pretty good recovery. We went all the way back up to 10,000 to even 14,000. And CZ at that time tweeted, slap yourself if you sold Bitcoin under 10,000, right? The funny thing is, shortly afterwards, Bitcoin did fall below 10,000 again, all the way down to 3,800. So it did happen again. On a shorter time frame, right? Anything goes. There could be other disasters, other macro factors, geopolitical stuff, very scary FUD that comes out, right? But when you zoom out, you realize, well, it all passes, okay? Bitcoin continues forward and ignores all and keeps chugging away and keeps going higher.